Hi, it's Jen from eXp Realty. I wanted to talk today about multiple offers. If you find yourself in a multiple offer situation, there's a few things that you would have to think about, decide, and I'm going to give you some information to kind of help you along. So, when you're in a multiple offer situation, the price is obviously going to be number one as to what's going to determine the offer being accepted. The higher the price, typically the more likely your offer will be accepted. However, that's not the only thing. The other thing is, maybe a closing date if you have a far out closing date, if you have a very low deposit. The other thing is what we had talked about in another video is if you're offering an FHA loan or a conventional loan. Obviously, a cash offer is going to win over any mortgage, but if you can't do cash, then the way to go is a conventional mortgage and to offer that. The other thing is concessions. Concessions are what you're asking the seller to pay at the closing. So if you ask, for example, for $2,000 or $3,000 at the closing table for the seller to give to you, then you are actually giving them less with your offer. So let's say you offered them $100,000. If you want $3,000 back, you're really giving them $97,000 in the end. So let's do a couple examples here. If we have one offer of $100,000, the exact asking price that they're looking for, and then you have another offer that's $100,000 with some concessions back of about $3,000, which one, if you were the seller, would you accept? Obviously, the one that has no seller concessions. Now, the other problem is what if the house does not appraise at $100,000? What if it had appraised at $95,000 and you wanted to still have those $3,000 back? Then we have a little issue. You have to go back to the negotiation table and figure out if you can actually afford that $3,000 yourself, or if the seller's still going to have to pay that. If they still have to pay it, it could potentially kill the deal, but you never know. Now, the first offer, if they were offering $100,000 and no concessions, when the appraisal comes back, then obviously the seller is going to have to drop their price to meet the appraisal price. Another thing we can talk about is called an escalation clause. This is what you put in with your offer, and it helps you to beat all other offers. For example, let's take the same $100,000 house, and you say, I will give you $1,000 more than any other offer you have on the table. Well, you might want to cap that. So let's say the most you're willing to offer is $110,000. So you would say, I would like to offer you $1,000 more than any other offer up to $110,000, and that's your cutoff. Now, the seller obviously would have to show that they have other offers. They would have to email the agent to prove that the other offers were higher. So you're safe being able to do that because they have to prove it. But it helps you to win the bidding war. Now, the problem is, again, if that house were not to appraise for $110,000, then your buying power has potentially gone down. Another way to reinforce that is if you had the cash. So let's say the house appraised for $105,000. Do you have the difference to make up for that? So $110,000 minus $105,000 is $5,000. Do you have $5,000 to make up for the difference? If you don't, then that brings us back to the negotiation table to figure out what we can do at that point.
Another thing that you would want to consider is your occupancy rent. So what happens is if somebody is moving out of the house and they need, let's say, for example, 60 days to get out of the house after the close, or 30 days after the close. They need that time to find a new place or to move their stuff. Typically, when you are closed on the house, those previous owners are paying rent to you because you now own the house. Well, one way to get your offer a little bit stronger is to offer them some free occupancy. So while they're trying to move out of the house, they don't have to make a payment to you. That just gives them a little extra cushion, and it makes your offer look really good.
The last thing I wanted to tell you was to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row with the lender, the mortgage company, and that you're telling them everything correctly so that you don't have any problems later. Do know that the seller's agent is going to be calling your lender because you do submit that pre-approval letter with your offer. So they have their phone number and their information, and they will call the lender and ask them, how strong of a buyer is this person? Are we going to have any trouble later on if we take their offer? So you want to make sure that if you need to do any preparation ahead of time, such as work on your credit score, get all your documents into the lender, make sure you're truthful about everything and you're telling them everything that they need to know so that later that your loan will go through and you won't have any problems with that. Sometimes it does fail, so you do need to know that you can prepare a little bit better sometimes ahead of that. You can even get it unconditionally approved, which means that they take it to the underwriter and make sure that your loan will approve no matter what. So these are just a few things that hopefully will help you out, and I appreciate you watching today, and I'll see you again soon. Once again, this is Jen with eXp.